Hey guys, welcome to my chickenpox theory. This is not a comfortable video to make. This is not an easy subject to talk about, and I do not take it lightly. As we're all aware, the COVID-19 is causing quite a ruckus around the world. It is causing quite a lot of problems. And anyway, I have a theory that I'm kind of calling it the chickenpox theory. I made a video a while back that just I sort of told or talked about it in story mode. I didn't really put any facts. I didn't really try to explain why I came to that conclusion. And I wasn't planning on creating this video for another week or so because I wanted more time for the numbers to mature, especially in the Western countries like Canada and United States and some of the other European countries, because some of us are just getting kind of into it, and I can't remember what it's called, but like the life cycle of the disease or the virus. You know, much of us, we haven't even gone through that yet. So I still need numbers, but from what I've been seeing and looking at, I do believe that my theory is only getting stronger, and that's what this is all about. And so anyway, at the core of it, the chickenpox theory is all not comparing the chickenpox to COVID-19. They are two different things. That's not what I'm referring to. What I'm referring to is treating COVID-19 the same way that we would treat the the chickenpox, is basically just get exposed, get it over and done with, and move on. And I'm going to have numbers to support this. And I get that just like the chickenpox, there are certain there are certain people that no matter what should be exposed to it. And those people, we need to be more tactical and deliberate about the strategies that we use to help them until there's a vaccine that comes out, or whatever the solution may end up being. Because keep in mind, the vaccine is not going to come out in 2020. I will repeat that again. The vaccine is not going to come out in 2020. So we can't wait for that. We can't all sit in our homes for that long. We need to go back to work, or something even worse than this is going to happen. And I think we've already gone past that point, but let's just stick to this. Okay, so I can't cover everything in this video. Obviously, I'm aiming at 10 minutes, but I think this is going to go over this anyway. But I still want to try to just keep it going. There's lots of information out there, and yeah, I'm just going to get into the numbers. So it is March the 24th, 2020. So these numbers I got approximately at 3 in the afternoon or so, and they're always changing. So don't take these numbers for a grain of salt just yet, because by the time I edit this and you see this, these numbers are going to change. But again, I think the core numbers, or my theory numbers, are still going to remain accurate. But anyway, using these numbers, let's just get into it. The world has 409,000 cases, and there's 18,000 or so deaths, with a death rate of 4.46%. Now that is not a good number to see. I get why a lot of people are concerned with that, and why the whole world is kind of acting the way it is. However, I think, and I'll get to the media in a little bit, I think these numbers are not nearly as accurate as they need to be to support a global shutdown of all systems. So anyway, I'm sure you would agree that there are a lot more people that are affected that are just going unreported. I'm using kind of in between 5 and 10 times. I don't think it's going to be any less than 10 times, and I don't think it's going to be any more than 10 times. I think it's kind of going to be somewhere in between. So using that in between, I believe we have 2 to 4 million people out there that are infected with this virus. And I believe that if you adjust for those numbers, because people that get infected, they can get whatever and they can get over it and they won't even know they had it. But anybody that dies, I think we're going to know about it. Unless they die in the woods somewheres and we don't recover their body for a while or something stupid like that. So I think that we're going to know for the better part all the, the deaths. But we're never going to know all the people that caught it. And they're estimating that the world is going to catch between like 50 and 60% of the world is going to catch this thing at some point, no matter what we do. So what can you do, right? So anyway, using those numbers, you know, we're looking at, and I should have probably did this the other way, about let's call it a half a percent to 1%. Now, the common cold is 0.8%, and in my previous video, I speculated that it would probably be higher than the common cold, but not by a whole lot, and I didn't think it was going to go above 1. So I still think that's probably true, but again, if it does go slightly above 1, I think that's going to be at the extreme end of it, or the top end of it. Not impossible, but not as likely. Now, we got some special cases here. Obviously, in China, we have 81,000. You know, I'm estimating between 400 and 800,000, and there's then 3,200 deaths, putting it at a 4% fatality rating, which puts it right on that global average. Now, they have a lot of people, so that's what's also keeping the global average up there. But again, you adjust with the with my theory in mind, or with the, you know, it's about a 0.4 to 0.8% of actual mortality rating that we're just not able to prove yet, because, well, we can't. And I think the reason why it's so high in China is when we export our industry to that country and they do all the dirty work and they don't regulate or care about their environment and what they do. Like, we all know about the smog that they live in. They live in a very bad place. And that is what's going to affect their health and their lungs. Because if you look at the numbers here, they're saying that it's pretty much 60 and up is affected. But if you look at the China numbers, it's pretty much 30 and up. But again, between 30 and 60 is just because I think where they're living, which is also going to mean that they're going to have a higher fatality rating than I believe most of the world will have. But let's move on into Italy. Italy has got about 70,000 cases, and I'm seeing I'm thinking there's going to be about 350,000 to 700,000. They got about 7,000 deaths, and they have the highest fatality rating right now at 9.86%. And again, just adjusting for my numbers, and I think this is going to be at the top end of it. This is like the highest it will ever go in the worst case sort of localized scenario, between 1 and 2%. Now, the reason why I think Italy is being hit so hard is 60% of their population is 40 years and up. They are the world's oldest country. They are essentially Europe's retirement country. You know, Italy is beautiful. There's a lot of people want to go and retire there, and that's why I believe this is hitting hard over there. It's just that's where it's unfortunate. You know, I don't know how to say it. Yeah. Because the thing about this virus that makes it unique is that it's not that it's a super bug. It's just it's spreading really quickly. So even if it was like a 0.1% world fatality rating, if that happened, let's say in one day, I don't know what the number would be, but that would be an alarming number. A lot of people, so that's, you know, it would be a bad number. So I think that's what we're sort of seeing in Italy. You know, it got hit, and it's just hitting the most unfortunate, you know, people that it can, and that's why it's ugly. But anyway, let's move on. Let's look at South Korea for an example. Now, they were able to mobilize on this really quickly. They had 9,000 cases, again, estimating 45 to 90,000, but they've only got 120 deaths. And so their fatality rating is 1.33%. And again, adjusting for my theoretical numbers, that would put it between 0.13 and 0.27. Now, I believe that's still on the low side. I believe that that could certainly go up some, but it's also showing that this is well below potentially the common cold, depending on who gets caught with it. So I got some other numbers here. Again, I'm not going to go into the details with Canada and the United States, Australia, and United Kingdom, but I'll just sort of summarize and say that they are floating right around that 1.2% or so, except for the United Kingdom, sorry. They're getting hit hard at 5%. They're actually doing really badly. I don't have a theory as to why that is. But yeah, they're not doing so good. But again, if you adjust for the numbers, it's 0.5 to 1%. So even I don't know. I'm not saying anybody, you know, dying is a good thing, but I'm just saying that the mortality rating is a lot lower than the numbers are, or like the basic numbers that the news is talking about. And so let's move on from that, because that data is always moving, but this is pretty easy to figure out if you're into numbers. You can do your own math on that one. But what we do know is, and most of this data is from China, so again, that's why we got to wait until we can see what the rest of the world is doing. But 82% of the people that are catching this are having a mild case of this, where they can just stay home and get well on their own accords. And this also includes people that catch the coronavirus and they don't have any issue at all. And so I think that's good news, because that's essentially, the 16 under crowd, the working force, if you will, is able to essentially go to work and go to work. So anyway, 15% is severe. So this is why it's very important to flatten the curve, because there's only so many beds in a hospital, and I get this is why we need to respect the curve, because if we overburden the hospitals, then there's going to be a hell of a lot more people that wouldn't need to die, and even people that are on unrelated cases would die from, just not having the attention that they need. I'm hearing cases of people dying alone in hospitals, because they can't have their families or anything, and they're anyway. But it's, like 3% is critical, and if you really look at the numbers on this one, it's just people. These are people with poor health. They have, issues. I won't get into the numbers because I'm still kind of confirming it up, but I got numbers from cancer to cardiovascular disease, anywhere from 6 to 11 times more likely than normal, just based off of things like diabetes and all that stuff. But yeah, bad health is not good for you. So anyway, this hasn't even run its course. I would imagine if we did absolutely nothing and we just sat back and did nothing, 200 million people will die. And that's a big number. That's not a number anybody wants to see. That's not a headline that we want to see in any newspapers, because that's like 2/3 of the American population going. And I get why we're concerned with that. But I'm concerned with the economic consequences of this. And I think more people are going to die from World War III, or whatever we want to call it. There's a list of things in my mind that is going to cause physical and fatality, like physical harm and fatalities, that I'm not going to talk about, because I do not want to plant any ideas. I don't want to share this because it's not good to share. But I believe that number is going to make this number look really small. Anyway, let's move on. So I want to leave off with 4 major considerations, things that I'm still figuring out. The first one is to support my chickenpox theory, is how long after recovery are we safe to be with other people without being a danger to them? Whether that's 5 days or 2 weeks. We need to know when we get sick, after a certain amount of time, we can go back to work and not get somebody else sick, so then they would have to go get, So we need to know that. I also believe that these tests are not 100% accurate. No test is. And given the resources that are out there right now to test these things, I don't know what the numbers are, but we need to be mindful of that, even if there's nothing we could really do about it. So yeah, just be mindful of it. I believe the numbers that the media is sharing in regards to any of this has largely, they're no longer talking about the facts. I remember back, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier in this video, but anywhere from like basically February and earlier, they're really specific about numbers. And essentially since March and onwards, essentially once the West, like Canada, United States, started jumping on, they stopped talking about numbers and just started getting into the rhetorics of it. And that is concerning to me, because to me that tells me that they don't have their numbers correct, or they have the numbers but the story is more important to them, or there's another agenda that's going on, and this is just the catalyst to get that going. So the numbers, they want to hide the numbers. So I think we need to be mindful about, who's saying what out there. Are they just talking, whatever, or do they have real evidence to back up their claims? Are they showing something that we can, like research? So anyway, and another major thing that we need to look at is, again, the economical collapse. Right now, the retirement funds are gone. I hate to say it, but if your money's in the stock industry, I mean, I'm sure it's not for everybody. I'm sure some people pulled out. I'm sure some people have money in the stock somewhere that's still doing good. I'm not saying this is black and white, but I'm just saying that the entire world's markets are on fire. And I believe that even if we can get back to a normal life, which I think we're beyond that now. I think 2020 is going to be the year that the world has changed, and anything in our past is history. And I believe that retirement for essentially anybody that is retired, about to retire, or planning for retirement soon, they're going to have to come up with a different plan. I have an idea on that one, but I'll share that in another video. So yeah, anyway, let's wrap this up. Again, I have lots of information that shouldn't fit in here. We'll get back to the theory of the chickenpox theory. I believe that the best thing we can do, whether we like it or not, is we just need to catch it, get over with it, and go to work as soon as we can, and hope that we can recover in a couple, 2-3 years. Because I think if this were to go on for 2 more months, I mean, we'd be looking at worst case scenario. We'd be looking at something way worse than this, 200 million. Yeah. Anyway, this won't be the last video that I'll create. I will probably create other videos as on of these, but just stay healthy. I got a video already out there, washing your hands and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know what to tell you right now, man. I'm sure you're probably looking at this and going, "Whoa." And I am too. This isn't a good story. This is not the video project that I would like to work on. But this is my theory, and whether I'm right or wrong, we're in a mess, and all I'm trying to do is help figure out how we can get out of this mess. And that's all I can do. So thanks if you watched it this far. Other than that, try to sleep well tonight, and we'll see you around.